In the last 2.5 weeks, we Britons have demolished 11 million turkeys, 80 million mince pies, and 100 million gallons of alcohol.
And it's been calculated that we've put on something like 9,000 tons of surplus flesh. About now, 11 million people are trying to slim it off, most of them unsuccessfully.
Never mind, a little bit of what you fancy does you good. Or does it? So you think you know what's good for you. Welcome to this edition of the So You Think quiz, and it's all about what we eat, what we drink and smoke, what's good for us and what's bad for us. Now, you'll find a score sheet in the Radio Times. It's actually on page 5 with a box for your answer and your score for each question. Or you can keep a tally on a piece of paper or on the back of an old envelope for that matter. So join in the quiz and see how you get on against our competing studio teams. But before we meet them, let me give you round 1, question 1, to see how fit you are after the temptations of the festive season. How long can you hold your breath? Take a couple of deep breaths now to get yourself ready. Now, if you know that you're unfit or ill in any way, don't do this, but if you're in good enough health, see how long you can hold your breath without straining too much. Now, there'll be a clock on your screen, so write down how many seconds it says when you decide to give up. All right, I'll count you down now from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Hold your breath. So whilst you're doing that, let's meet our 3 teams. Our first team of Peter Davison, who was Doctor Who a few moments ago, was in a very, very confused state. But I'm delighted to say that he's had a sort of temporary reprieve. He ought to know all the answers to everything that's coming up. Or if he doesn't, at least his wife, actress Sandra Dickinson, will. Now, our next team are the sporting contingent, Sharron Davies, the British Olympic swimmer, who's holding her breath very simply, and her fiancé, Neil Adams, who's the world judo champion, and if they don't do well in this section, then there's something cockeyed somewhere. And completely lost for words for the very first time in history on television, Terry Wogan, particularly welcome because of his campaigns to fight the flab. We see how well he's managed himself. He's with his wife, Helen, former fashion model, mother of their 3 children. And to give us the answers to tonight's question, keep holding your breath, welcome a real doctor, Miriam Stoppard. Miriam, what's this breath exercise show?
They're all staggeringly good. I just can't believe that they're going on this long. What it actually shows is you've got healthy lungs and a healthy heart, and that the oxygen is part... Oh, somebody's gone. I just couldn't believe it. I mean, you're all terribly, not Terry particularly, terribly fit.
Are you sure that? All right, that's enough. You can breathe now. You haven't already given up.
But can we speak?
Yeah, that's what we're going to find out. Now, if you've reached 50 seconds in one breath, then that's a good average. You should be in reasonable shape, so score 2 points. But if you got to 1 minute 10 seconds, you have an extra point, a bonus point for 70 seconds, and that applies to 4 members of our team per set. Terry and Helen, you did frightfully well. Helen, when did you give up?
No, I didn't actually.
She burst into laughter after about 10 seconds.
After 21.8.
Yeah, but you kept going till the end, Terry.
I did. I'm extremely plucky in these kind of things.
Hardly believe it. Neil and Sharron, well, I mean, you were just...
Put me 2 down.
How much?
2.
2?
She must have about 10 here.
She's still holding her breath.
She's still
She's
holding her
still
breath.
holding her breath. It's unbelievable. Have you been training today?
Not today in the pool, but we're doing a bit of work in the gym.
Oh, good. So you should be fit for tonight anyway.
Yes, hopefully.
Peter and Sandra, welcome. When Sandra, you gave up.
I think I made it to about 50 before I
Just
laughed.
over 50?
Yeah.
When I thought you were going to implode rather than...
No, I laughed, I'm afraid.
And Peter, when did you give up?
1 minute and 7 seconds. I claim a foul. Terry Wogan made me laugh.
Did he? All right. Now, question number 2, also to see how fit you are, and a demonstration, I'm glad to say, from Miriam.
We're going to ask you to do this without falling over. First of all, you put your hands on your hips, and then you close your eyes, and then you stand on one leg and count to 5, like this. 1, 2, 3. Oh. Try again. Okay? 1, 2, 3. 3, 4, 5. And then, without opening your eyes, onto the other one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Steady as a rock.
A bit rocky, I think that was. All right, are you all ready then? You at home too, as well as you lot here. Stand, hands on hips, close your eyes, and now lift your right leg now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now change legs. Change legs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I think you did very well,
Yes.
but I am going to have to award points here, you see. Now, Sandra, you fell over.
I'm used to spotting.
I know. Sharon and Neil, you didn't at all.
What?
You stood absolutely rock still.
Oh, yes. Oh, good.
Yeah, most people
I'm glad about
say that.
Helen,
holding
we wobbled a bit.
On the right.
Isn't that right?
Not on the left.
Not on the left.
On the right.
2 points for you at home if you manage that. Miriam, you impressed?
Well, I'm very impressed with the athletes, though you might have expected it, because what it actually shows is good balance, coordination of the muscles and the joints, and messages to the brain to keep your body steady. So they were very good.
The only team that got 2 points there. Now, one of the greatest problems after Christmas and New Year are the extra few inches around the waist. In fact, at any given time, at least half the adult population are overweight. But do you know how effective exercise is in getting rid of surplus weight? Now, a helping of Christmas pudding with that lovely brandy sauce. Now, for question 3, do you know how much exercise you need to use up the calories in that pudding? Is it A, half an hour walk, B, a 2-hour walk, or C, a 4-hour walk? Put down A, B, or C. Right? Terry and Helen, what have you got down, each of you? Helen?
Well, I would have said it was more than a 4-hour walk, but I mean, it's one of those 3, is it?
Yes.
C.
C.
You've both got 4-hour walks, have you? Peter and Sandra, what have you got?
Well, Peter doesn't have anything. What
Well,
I
I would have said B, but...
You would have said it's sort of...
Well, Christmas pudding isn't meant to be that fattening, is it? But the goo on top's a bit fattening. So it's either B or C. I would go for C.
You go for C, you go for a 4-hour walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neil and Sharon, what have you got down?
We've gone completely in the middle. And we've
B?
said B, surprisingly enough. Yes.
Yeah, it is surprising, because
It
the
is
answer
surprising.
is C.
Oh.
At least a 4-hour walk. Oh, they're pleased over there, Miriam.
Well, in 4 hours, you can do about 16 miles if you walk briskly. So it's really quite a lot of exercise that you have to do to get rid of the calories from the Christmas pudding. And exercise isn't that efficient at using up calories. So you see, you have to do an awful lot. Exercise is good for you. First of all, it suppresses the appetite, which is good for slimmers. It also lowers the blood cholesterol, which is healthy for everybody. And after exercise, as our athletes know, you get a wonderful feeling of euphoria. But it's not a good way to take off weight, and it can't spot reduce. If anybody can tell you that they've got an exercise for spot reducing, don't believe them. You cannot spot reduce with exercise. You've got to take weight off from all over your body. So as we said, you've got to do an awful lot of exercise to use up those calories and lose weight.
Question 4 now, still on slimming. Is this true or false? Calorie counting is the only really successful way to slim. Now, is that true or false, that calorie counting is the only really successful way to slim? Write down true or false. Write down something this time, Peter, too. Come on. Neil and Sharon, what have you got down there?
Well, we've put down false, because we reckon if you're doing some form of exercise, it's got to help.
Yeah. Peter and Sandra, what have you written down?
We're disagreeing again.
Are you?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Let's go for mine. That's a false. I'd have said false.
Terry and Helen, what have you got?
False.
False. And the answer is true. It's 2 points if you put true.
I'm afraid there's only one way to lose weight, and that is to restrict your calorie intake. Some diets make you a promise that you can eat as much of anything as you like. One of these is the high-protein diet. Now, it really isn't so. If a high-protein diet takes off weight, it means that you're restricting your calories as well. You can't eat any amount of meat, any amount of fish. You have to control those calories. The other thing about protein diets is that too much protein isn't good for us. It's generally agreed we eat far too much protein. Secondly, it's very expensive. And thirdly, it doesn't teach you new eating habits, which all diets should. So I'm afraid there is only one way to do it. You do have to restrict your calories.
Which brings us to the last question in this round. How much do you know about the calories in the food you eat? Question 5. where would you cut this piece of cheddar cheese if you wanted 100 calories? Is it at mark A, that's the big bit, or B, middle bit, or C, just the end finger? Now, the studio teams have got their cheese and they've got a knife. Would you like to cut off yours to the chosen mark and 100 calories, what you're aiming at? Cut it now. Oh, beautifully done. Now, Peter and Sandra, let's see what you've done. Can you hold up your piece?
I didn't hold up the pieces.
Oh, you've gone for the end bit. All right.
Yes.
Neil and Sharon, how much have you cut off?
We've gone for the end bit as well.
You've gone for the end bit as well. And Terry and Helen?
The end bit.
You've gone for the end bit. Well, the answer is mark C. 2 points for that tiny piece of cheese. It's just under an ounce, and that is 100 calories.
Well, everybody seems to know their calories rather well, in cheese at least. The calorie value of food differs quite a lot, so you can eat quite a lot of a low-calorie food and still take only 100 calories. For instance, 100 calories of spaghetti would be a quarter pound of that. And then 100 calories of smoked haddock would be a quarter pound of that too. 100 calories of beer would be half a pint.
Thank you. That's for you, Terry.
100 calories of apples. And 100 calories of watermelon, would you believe, is a whole watermelon. And 100 calories of cauliflower. There's 2 cauliflowers. 100 calories of cucumbers, 2 cucumbers. And 100 calories of tomatoes is 10. So those are 100 calories of all this food, and you can eat an awful lot of lettuce for 100 calories. Incidentally, a lot of people say calorie counting is difficult, but it isn't. You only have to do it, and after 2 or 3 days, you know what the calorie value of most things is. Who will forget what the calorie value of lettuce is? All this in 100 calories. And calorie counting is flexible too. You know, you can eat whatever you want to, when you want to, as long as you're counting the calories, and you can even have a naughty treat, like an ice cream or a chocolate bar. So, there's 100 calories of lettuce.
Only 700 calories on the whole disc. So let's see how our teams are getting on at the end of round 1. And the team bringing up the rear at the moment, Peter and Sandra, well, you've got 5 points. Room for slight improvement there, all right. In the middle, we've got Terry and Helen. You've got 6, 1 ahead. But you are 2 behind those who are in the lead at the moment. That's Sharon and Neil.
Shame.
Don't look so smug about it, because we're going on to something you may not know anything about now. We're going on to round 2, which is about smoking and drinking. Now, this time you will have 5 seconds to write down your answer to each question before I tell you which is correct. For this round, we asked Barry Cryer to create the atmosphere.
Another double, please, love.
In a quiet public house somewhere in Britain where Dawn has noticed he's smoking again.
That didn't last long. I thought you said you were giving up.
Didn't say I was giving up, dear. I said I was cutting down. I only have 1 after a meal now, you know. Down to 40 meals a day. Anyway, I only smoke to be sociable, you know. I don't know what all the fuss is about. My Uncle Fred smoked 60 cigarettes a day and lived till he was 90, you know.
But you could say that it was finally the cigarettes that finished him off.
He was run over by a bus, dear. I grant you he was crossing the road to get a packet of fags at the time. But I'm just as likely to walk out of that very door and get run over by a bus as I am to snuff it from these things.
So just how much of what Barry says is actually true? Question number 1 is about the risk of early death due to smoking cigarettes. Is this true or false? You are more likely to be killed in a road accident than to die of smoking cigarettes. True or false? You have 5 seconds to write down true or false on your score sheet. And the answer is false. Award yourself 2 points if you put false. You are at least 15 times more likely to die of the effects of cigarette smoking than in any form of road accident. And if you do compare the risk with being knocked over by a bus, it's nearly 150 times more likely that you will die because you smoke cigarettes.
So who are all these people who are supposed to be kicking the bucket because they like an occasional fag? I don't know who they are. Do you know who they are? I never met anybody who died from lung cancer. I think they make them up, you know, all these statistics. It's a smoke screen, and you know why they do it? So we worry about our lungs and forget about inflation.
Question 2. Do you know just how much damage you can inflict on yourself by smoking cigarettes? If you were to die prematurely as a result of smoking cigarettes, which of these diseases would you most likely die from? A. Chronic bronchitis. B. Heart disease. C. Stomach ulcers. Or D. Lung cancer. You have 5 seconds to write down the answer. Which is most likely to cause your early death if you smoke cigarettes? And the answer is B. Heart disease. 2 points if you put B. Altogether, the Royal College of Surgeons has calculated that each cigarette you smoke takes an average of 5.5 minutes off your life. Smoking whilst pregnant is particularly dangerous to the unborn child. But if you stop smoking cigarettes, most of the increased risks to your health will quickly reduce.
Whatever they say about smoking, you can't deny that a little drinky-poo now and again never did anybody any harm. In fact, I've heard that people who drink actually live longer than teetotalers. My doctor said if I wanted a scotch, I was to have it. They give it to you in church, don't they? They wouldn't do that if it was bad for you. There you are, then. Church and medical profession. QED. Cheers.
Question 3. Is that true or false? Are you likely to live longer if you drink alcohol? 5 seconds to write true or false. And the answer is true. 2 points if you wrote true. A considerable amount of research in the United States has concluded that around 3 alcoholic drinks a day seems to help people live longer lives. The alcohol helping with heart disease and stress particularly.
So give us a treble scotch, love. Cheers.
But too much alcohol will shorten your life even more readily than none at all. To be sure of being safe, experts set the upper limit for men at 3 pints of beer a day. If we take the equivalence of a single measure of spirits, equal to a glass of sherry, equal to a glass of wine, equal to half a pint of beer at regular pub measures, Barry can drink daily up to 3 pints of beer, or 6 single spirits, or 6 glasses of wine. That's about a bottle, without unduly risking damage to his health. Of course, if your doctor has told you differently, follow his advice. And remember, this amount drunk in one evening would put you over the legal limit to drive. So don't take the car with you.
And mine's a large vodka.
A large vodka? I mean, I'll buy you a large vodka, don't you worry, but are you sure it's wise? I mean, I just don't think it's a good idea.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you're a woman, and it's a well-known fact that women can't take their drink like men can. Case in point, you remember Eric and Doreen? Both of them, drinking like fishes. Who went first? The lovely Doreen. With respect, you should be down on your knees begging me not to buy you one.
I'll buy my own then.
Is Barry trying to save himself money, or is he right? Question 4. How much alcohol can a woman safely drink? Is it A, more than the safe limit for men, B, the same as the safe limit for men, or C, less than the safe limit for men? 5 seconds to answer A, B, or C. Are you all done? Well, the answer is C. 2 points if you put less than men. Research at London's King's College Hospital has recently shown that women are much more susceptible to liver disease than men, and so the doctors there recommend a safe upper limit of half that for men. So women can take up to 3 glasses of wine, or 3 single spirits, or 1.5 pints of beer as their safe daily maximum consumption. Pregnant women should be particularly careful, as recent research shows that expectant mothers who drink excessively during pregnancy risk physical abnormalities in their children. And again, remember that although alcohol in moderation can be good for men and women, the number of alcoholics in Britain is rising.
Cheers.
More people in this country die prematurely from alcoholism than from road accidents. If you regularly drink over 5 pints of beer a day or its equivalent, then you're running into trouble, and you should seriously go about cutting it down.
Come on, I think I better give you a lift home.
Most kind. Most kind.
And I'll tell you another thing. You're not driving to work tomorrow either. Not after all the stuff you've put away tonight.
That'll be daft. I'll sleep it off. Anyway, you can't be done for being drunk in charge of a hangover.
Do you know how long it does take to be free of the effects of alcohol? Question 5. If you go to the pub at 9 o'clock in the evening and drink 6 pints of beer, at what time the next day can you drive and be within the legal limits? Is it A, 7 o'clock in the morning, B, 8 o'clock, C, 9 o'clock, or D, 10 o'clock? 5 seconds to write down either A, B, C, or D. 7, 8, 9, or 10. At what time are you below the legal limit? And the answer is D, 10 o'clock. Give yourself 2 points if you wrote D. If you drink from 9 in the evening until the pub shuts, then your peak blood alcohol level is around midnight. If you drink 6 pints, you should be below the legal limit to drive by about 10 the next morning. But you're not really safe to drive until the afternoon, and you're finally alcohol-free by about 6 o'clock in the evening. Well, let's see how our teams got on there. Neil and Sharron, how did we do?
We did brilliantly in that round. As you can
one
see
each.
by the score sheets. Yes.
One each we got, and
Great
that is that women drink less than men. What surprised you most about that, Sharron?
I don't know, really. I mean, we're not supposed to know about these things anyway, so I'm not so upset. But quite a lot of it, really. I was surprised actually you could drink so much without it really affecting you, that it was, before it was unsafe.
Do you ever drink, Neil?
Well, I have a glass of wine.
What about
Sorry,
Neil?
Can I speak? Yes, I have the odd drink. Sometimes after training we drink. Obviously, when we're training very hard, we can't drink so much. We have to cut it out. But we have the odd tipple.
Oh, we slipped a bit there. And now let's turn to Mr. and Mrs. W. How did we do then, the pair of you? I
Bravely.
say. Oh, Helen, we did well. 1, 2, 3, there, 4, 5. You did well. What surprised you about it?
Nothing, because I have all the vices.
You smoke and drink. Do both of you smoke and drink?
Yes, yes. I do it mostly in self-defense.
In what way?
Well, I smoke the occasional cigar, about 2 a day, and Helen smokes, I think, around about 10 to 12 cigarettes a day, and Helen drinks about 3 bottles of vodka a day, and I drink about 4.
All right, now let's move on to Peter and Sandra. How did we do this time?
Well, we managed to avoid the right answer for the first 3 questions, but then we had inspiration towards the end. Really, didn't we?
Yes.
A real rush. Do either of you smoke? Do you smoke, Sandra?
I occasionally do when under stress, but very infrequently, really. I do for about a month, a few a day, and then I give up.
Yeah, we had quite a lot of failure rate on that. But let's now come to the scores, if we may. Peter and Sandra, with 4 on that round, reduced the gap somewhat. They now have a total of 9. And in second place now, Neil and Sharron, who only got 2 in that round, but claim they know nothing about smoking or drinking. They have a total of 10, which leaves a smug, self-satisfied grin all over Terry, but not over Helen, I'm delighted to say. They got 5 in that round and leap into a 1-point lead. They now have 11. Well, let's go on to round 3 and the traditional things that are good for you. Question number 1, natural foods, so-called. Here are 4 brown foods. Which one is actually much better for you than its white equivalent? Is it A, brown bread, B, brown sugar, or C, brown eggs, or D, brown rice? Which one of those is better for you than its equivalent in white? All right. Peter and Sandra, what have you put down?
D.
Good
And
guess.
is that the verdict of you
We
both?
think it's a
That
good
is,
guess.
yes.
That's the verdict of you both. All right. Now let's move on. Neil and Sharron, have you got a joint verdict?
We're split in this one.
Oh, split
Yes,
decision.
surprisingly
Between what
enough.
and what?
Between rice and sugar, I think.
Yeah, I put sugar.
I will go for sugar then, we'll be different.
Will you?
Oh, we're joining in.
All right, you'll go for sugar. All right. Terry and Helen, what did you...
D, I have.
We both went for the brine rice.
Went for the brown rice.
Brown
well,
rice.
the answer is D. It's 2 points if you put brown rice. Miriam.
Well, it's not just the brownness in bread that's important. In fact, white bread is quite good for you. It's got quite a lot of protein and it usually has vitamins A and D added to it. No, it's not the brownness in bread. You've got to look at the package. It's got to be whole meal for it to be really good for you. The granary is nice to taste and crusty, but it's not as good as the whole meal brown bread. Brown sugar is no different nutritionally from white sugar, and as it happens, we don't need any sugar, refined sugar, whatsoever. You can get all your sugar from natural sugars in fruit, and the more simple sugars like dextrose and fructose, and lactose, which is in milk. So you really don't need sugar, white or brown. Brown eggs are exactly the same as white eggs or any other coloured eggs. There's no difference nutritionally in those. It is the brown rice. The brownness is in the husk, and that contains lots of vitamins, particularly the B vitamins, B12 in particular. It's also good for fibre. It's very high on fibre and roughage. That adds bulk. It keeps your intestines working smoothly. It's very good for the digestive tract, and it can even keep the constipation at bay.
Which leads us to question number 2. Which of these foods has the highest percentage of fibre or roughage? Is it A, an orange, B, peas, or C, porridge? So there's the highest percentage of fibre roughage between those 3. Neil and Sharron.
Well, we agree on this one. It's we've put C. Porridge.
You put porridge.
Yes.
All right. Terry and Helen, are you agreed?
I just thought it would be probably the one that one wouldn't think of, so I put A.
The orange.
I followed the good lady.
And put A as well?
Yeah.
The oranges? Oh,
A crawler.
yeah, I noticed. Peter and Sandra, what did you do?
Well, we put C.
Well, there seemed to be more porridge than orange or peas, so and they're all fairly rough.
Good. Well, you'll all be delighted to know that the answer is B. It's 2 points if you put down peas.
Well, peas and beans, for that matter, because of their skins mainly, have the most roughage. That's 15%. Oranges come second with around 2%, and porridge comes last with only 1%. However, there is something interesting about porridge. Only a few months ago, some research at Kentucky Medical School has showed that all that gooey stuff that makes the porridge so nice and sticky actually helps to clear the blood of cholesterol. So it's being used in their heart patients to see if it can help them with heart attacks. Now, if you want to take more fibre in your diet, it's really very simple. Don't peel the apples and pears the next time you eat them. Eat them with the skins on, very good. Eat the cores and the pips as well, if you can manage that. Or eat jacket potatoes. Cook the potatoes in their jackets and eat all that as well. That's quite good fibre. The simplest way is just to eat bran cereals, or add a tablespoonful of bran to the cereal you eat. You can even put bran, for instance, in cakes and biscuits. It doesn't change the texture that much. It's very good for you. And another tip is to use wholemeal flour, of course, in your cooking.
And if you think I'm going to eat a pineapple without taking the outside off, then you're wrong. You've got another thing coming. Question 3 now, and the importance of a balanced diet. Now, write down any of these foods, which in itself is essential for a healthy life. Is it A, the fresh fruit, B, the liver, C, milk, or D, green vegetables? Write down any of those foods which are essential for a healthy life.
Any one of them, or
Any one, any combination of all of them, or whatever you think. Neil and Sharron, what did you write down?
I'll let her say this time.
Yes, I know what to say now.
Yes,
I've put
you do.
down A and D.
A and D. All right. Let's go on from Neil and Sharron. Let's Peter and Sandra, what did you write down?
Well, I didn't realise we could put down more than one. We put down A, really.
Just one?
Well,
Is it?
what was milk?
I meant milk.
Yeah, well, anyway,
I think I would go just for A as being essential.
Would you? Mm.
If you
All right,
had
well,
A,
we'll
you
see.
wouldn't-
Terry and Helen, what have you got down?
Well, I put down A, B, C, and D.
Did you write down? What did you write down, Helen?
I put down B and D because. Would you like to know why?
Yes, I'd love to know why.
Well, I believe that greens have iron and liver has iron.
I only ask you that because I'll ask Miriam in a moment to tell you. The answer is none of them. You score 2 points if you decided that none of them in itself was essential. Tell us why, Miriam.
Well, there's no such thing as an essential food. Every food has an alternative from which you can get the nutrients that are in that food. So, for instance, an awful lot of people think that you have to have milk for the calcium and the minerals in it. You can take any kind of dairy substitute like butter or cheese, yogurt, cottage cheese. You'll get just the same things. If you're worried about your calcium, you'll get plenty of it in fish and various other protein foods. As far as the vitamins are concerned, B12, well, you'll get quite a lot of that from whole grains, from the brown rice that we were talking about, the jackets in potatoes as well, that we've already mentioned, and any sprouting vegetable. That's why vegetarians eat a lot of sprouting vegetables, because that's where they get their vitamin B12. You don't have to take animal protein to get it. It's in peas and beans and pulses as well. Vitamin C, any fresh fruit, particularly for instance, tomatoes. Tomatoes are extremely rich in vitamin C, and fresh vegetables, any fresh vegetables. So you don't have to take one. You can take any of them. Some foods, you know, have sort of got a mythology about them. One of them is spinach. People thought that spinach was very rich in iron. Well, it is. But spinach also contains a substance which grabs onto iron and holds onto it very hard. It doesn't only take the iron through with it. It takes the iron from everything else that's in your diet at that time. And so it actually takes the iron out. It doesn't leave it with you. And one other thing, an awful lot of people think that multivitamin tablets are necessary. Well, they're not. As long as you're eating a balanced diet, there's nobody in the Western world that should be taking vitamin pills. They're absolutely unnecessary. Multivitamin pills.
Well, I got that all wrong, too. Question number 4. And children's meals with the rapid spread of junk food. Do you know what's good for children and what's not? Is it true or false that a takeaway hamburger like this is a good main meal for a growing child? Is that true or false? Is a takeaway hamburger a good main meal for a growing child? Write down true or false. Peter and Sandra.
Well, I've been feeding Peter on them for years, and he's done very well.
We put true. We put true.
So you reckon it's right? You reckon it's good, growing, healthy children's food, Peter?
Well, I think I remember from somewhere that it's supposed to be a fairly balanced meal. I think I remember that it has a bit of everything in it.
Well,
who knows?
We will see. Neil and Sharron, what have you put down?
Have we put down true?
Yeah.
Yeah, we put down true as
Put
well.
down true as well?
Yes, we thought that it had everything in it as well. That's why we put true.
Good. Well, Terry and Helen, how about your 3? Do they have hamburgers?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you reckon it's good?
Not for a main meal continually. Of course they don't. But both of us put down true.
And the answer is true. It's 2 points if you put that. Miriam?
Well, there is a lot of good things in junk food. It's not all bad. I'm quite keen on some of the junk foods. And the hamburger that we've shown you, especially with everything, is a balanced meal, just as Peter says. Junk food can be quite good for children, what we call junk food anyway. A peanut butter sandwich is very nutritious. Fish fingers have fish in them after all, and if that's the only way that your children will eat fish, well then give them it that way. So junk food has quite a lot in its favour, and school meals, incidentally, are not necessarily that well balanced. So the hamburger is good for you, not every day, because it does provide a balanced meal.
And we stay with children for the final question of this round. Question number 5. Now, which one of these sayings applied to the way we bring up children is actually true? Put vinegar on a wasp sting, soda on an ant bite. Or B, an apple at night will clean teeth. Or C, reading in bad light ruins your eyesight. D, put a key down your back to stop a nosebleed. Now, which one of those is correct? Write down A, B, C, or D. Neil and Sharron.
Well, if the key's cold, it could be good for you. Neil's put down A, so I suppose I better go with him.
You better. All right, Terry and Helen, what have you put down?
A.
Have you? Good. Do you do that?
Yes.
Good enough reason, isn't it? Peter and Sandra.
A.
We've all gone for A. Well, the answer is A.
Oh.
It's 2 points for vinegar on a wasp sting and washing soda on an ant bite. Miriam.
Well, the vinegar is a good idea for a wasp sting because it's alkaline and it neutralises it, and the other way round for an ant bite because it's formic acid that's going in, and so if you put washing soda on it, it'll neutralise it too. That's the right one. An apple at night is better than sucking sweets before you go to bed, but it doesn't leave your teeth absolutely clean. You can't rely on it. It's nothing better than a good brush just before retiring. Reading in bed ruining your eyesight is an old wives' tale. The eyes can get a bit tired. The muscles will get a bit tired from sort of closing the eyes tightly, but it does nothing to damage your eyesight. The eyes are made to see, and seeing in the dark doesn't necessarily damage them. It may make them a little bit tired. Putting a key down your back to stop a nosebleed does nothing at all other than give you a shock. It could stop hiccups, but for a nosebleed you need to put your head down and press on the bridge of your nose. Most of them are based on old wives' tales, and there's another lovely one, which is if you eat carrots, you'll have better vision in the dark, because the carrots contain that pigment that is needed at the back of the eye for you to see in the dark. And this actually was a story put about by the RAF during the war, at least it's thought it was, to make the Luftwaffe pilots think that our pilots were really crack fighter pilots. All our pilots were supposed to be eating carrots, you know, so that they were good marksmen. But it's just an old wives' tale as well.
But now let's have a look at how the teams are doing at the end of round 3. And slid back a little bit from an early start there, Sharron and Neil. You've got 4 in that round and a total of 14. There we are. Got one wrong, didn't we?
If I'd have listened to her, we'd have been all right.
We want no blame apportioned here, otherwise we shall get into terrible trouble. Peter and Sandra, we've pulled up rather well.
Not bad.
You weren't surprised at all by anything there, were you?
No.
No, we were
Full
awfully
of
good.
confidence.
Teamwork.
Yeah, they've got a total of 15. And on the top of the pile, again with 6 there, still ahead, Terry and Helen. A little quiet confidence, I notice, coming over this end of the table.
Pale but determined.
I've noticed. We'll see how confident you are at the end of round 4 between you. Right, round 4 now, and again this time you have 5 seconds to write down your answers before I give you the right one. This round is all about the heart. In Britain, a heart attack is now the commonest cause of death in men over the age of 35. And 1 man in 3 can expect to suffer a heart attack or stroke before retirement age. Most heart attacks arise as a consequence of the narrowing of the arteries, which is caused because of these fat deposits which contain a lot of cholesterol. This narrowing, often with the complication of a blood clot, obstructs the blood flow and damages the heart muscle. But some people are more at risk than others. Doctors have identified 5 main reasons that could make this man, for example, a particularly high risk. Question number 1. Do you know which risk factor would most increase the likelihood of this man having a heart attack? Is it A, heredity, if your close family have a history of heart disease? B, if you're a man? C, if you smoke cigarettes? D, if you have high blood pressure? Or E, if you have a high fat or cholesterol level in your blood? Now you have 5 seconds to write down A, B, C, D or E, which would most increase the likelihood of you having a heart attack. And the answer is A. Give yourself 2 points if you wrote heredity. If your parents or grandparents died of heart disease, then your own risk is greatly increased. The next most important is your sex. Men are much more likely to suffer a heart attack than women, although there's now an increasing rate among women, possibly in line with an increase in women cigarette smokers. Smoking cigarettes is the most important risk that you can actually do something about. Smoking 20 cigarettes a day increases the risk of having a heart attack 5 times if you're between the ages of 35 and 40. But it's comforting to know that 2 years after you've given up smoking, your risk has returned to normal. If you're worried about your blood pressure, have it checked by your doctor. 2 ways of bringing it down are to watch your intake of salt and to make sure you're not overweight. And it's dangerous to have a high blood cholesterol level if you're under the age of 50. So if you're worried about yours, have yours checked, especially if you have a family history of heart disease. But do you know what causes a high cholesterol level? Question number 2. Which one of these statements is true? A high cholesterol level in the blood is the result of A, eating eggs and other food high in cholesterol, B, eating too much fat, C, being overweight, D, having been born with a tendency to have a high cholesterol level. Now, 5 seconds to answer. And the answer is D, having a genetic tendency to it. 2 points if you wrote that. Doctors have found that some people can eat lots of fat and eggs and yet don't suffer heart disease. Other people can't. It's the way you were born. But in fact, doctors believe it's a good idea for all of us to cut down on fat and oils in our food, as the fat we eat averages 40% of our diet. But are you aware how much fat you do eat? Question 3. Which of these 3 meals contains the most fat? Is it A, bread, butter, cheese and an apple? B, chicken and chips? C, baked beans on toast? 5 seconds to write down which meal has the most fat in it. And the answer is A, the bread and cheese, and 2 points if you wrote that. There are 48 grams of fat in that meal. Most dairy products are very high in fat. Butter is 86% fat, cheddar cheese is 35% fat. But there is some choice if you want to cut down. Cottage cheese, skimmed milk, low-fat yogurt and low-fat spread all give a large saving in fat content. The chicken and chips looks full of fat, but contains only 37 grams. Substitute boiled potatoes for the chips and the fat level goes down to 17 grams. Take the skin off the chicken and it's only 5 grams. Poultry and white meat generally have much less fat than red meat. White fish has hardly any, providing you don't fry it. The baked beans on toast is the best of the lot. It has only 19 grams of fat. Take away the butter on the toast and there are only 2 grams of fat. If you believe you should reduce your fat intake, you can get a small booklet which lists the fat percentages of all foods. There's something else that's often linked with heart disease: lack of exercise. How important is this? Question number 4. A lifestyle with little exercise could increase the risk of having a heart attack. Is that true or false? Could lack of exercise increase the risk? Well, the answer is true. Although doctors won't say that exercise will prevent a heart attack, they generally agree that not doing any exercise is likely to increase your risk. The right sort of exercise is something fairly vigorous that will put up your heart rate and make you puff, like jogging, swimming, cycling or skipping. This should lead to a fit heart, the ability of the heart to respond to sudden physical or emotional demands more readily and with less strain. And the encouraging thing is the experts reckon only 20 minutes worth 3 times a week can be enough to be effective. And if you don't do any exercise now, ask your doctor to suggest the best way to start. And above all, do exercise in a way that you can enjoy. And the final question in this section, question 5. Do you know which of these countries have had the largest reduction in fatal heart attacks in the last 15 years? Is it A, Finland, B, Scotland, C, Northern Ireland, or D, the United States of America? And the answer is D. 2 points for the United States of America, where the death rate from heart attacks has fallen by about 30% since 1968. One reason could be the greater awareness of the causes of heart disease spread by large educational campaigns. And it's interesting to speculate whether our own rates might fall if we had the benefit of advertisements like this one from the American Heart Foundation.
I'm Arthur Ashe, National Campaign Chairman for the American Heart Association. I control the risks in my lifestyle that I had any control over. But it may have been the things I couldn't change, like family history, that led to my heart attack. So when I see people who are overweight, heavy smokers, people who never exercise and have no idea what their blood pressure is, it concerns me. The American Heart Association is trying to educate people like that, and I've joined them. We're fighting for your life.
Well, the power of television could be the answer to that in the United States of America. Let's see how we got on there. Terry and Helen, let's take a look at your score sheet. Oh, a real scattering of ticks there. You got one wrong there about the cholesterol level, the genetic tendency.
Don't be so patronizing.
No, I thought you did well, 4 out of 5. Yeah. What surprised you then?
The second one I got wrong because I thought it was more likely to be eating dairy foods rather than the genetic thing that would add to the cholesterol.
Peter and Sandra, we seem to have differences of opinion over there, do we?
Yes, we broke away from the team effort and went our own ways there, I think. We ended up equally, I think, equally wrong about those things.
What was it that was surprising you, Sandra, through?
Well, the biggest surprise to me was number 5, because I read well over 10 years ago that the Finns had the highest heart attack rate from their dairy meal, dairy diet. And they've done so little about it in the last 10 to 12 years. That surprised me a lot.
Well, let's put that point to Miriam now. Finland, Scotland, Northern Ireland were the others that we put into the question.
Yes, all those countries have a high death rate from heart disease. In fact, Scotland is rapidly becoming the leading country in the world, if you like, for death from heart disease. The Finns had a very high rate, but they did do something about it. Incidentally, there's a very nice piece of research that's been done in Stanford that shows yet another factor that can help you with your not to have heart disease, and that is having a pet. They did a very nice research project there.
A pet?
Yes, and they
a cat or a dog? Or...
Yes, they found out in the clinic that people who had pets had a lower rate of recurrence of a heart attack than those who did not. And you know what they found the crucial factor was? It's the stroking, Cliff. That stroking movement is awfully good for lowering the blood pressure, for doing away with the stress, and there is a lower incidence of recurrent heart attacks in those people who stroke their pets.
I shall go straight home and stroke the goldfish. I can't wait. Neil and Sharron, now, how did we do then?
Not too bad.
Neil, you did rather well. Sharron, we...
Not too good, yes. Well, we did so badly.
Not too good. We got the hereditary bit, but nothing else.
Yes, we did so badly in the last section, so we decided we'd work out a strategy. We'd each go different ways, and then we had to pick up some points. And I got the worst end, so that's my excuse anyway.
So we noticed that, but yes, didn't do frightfully well on that.
No,
not the best round, no.
Not the best round.
No.
You're better at the practical than the theory,
I
perhaps.
think so, yes. Can we have another practical round? Is that possible?
What, of standing on your head or holding your breath for 3 hours?
Oh, all right then.
And now we come to the final totals at the end of this contest, and I should give them, as they say, in reverse order. Neil and Sharron have a total of 18. They got 4 that round and a total of 18. The runners-up were Peter and Sandra with 4 on that round and a total of 19. But far and away in the lead, Terry and Helen, who got 7 in round 4 and a total of 24. You must lead very healthy lives.
Not at all. I think it proves, if proof were needed, that the drinkers and the smokers can win these kinds of competitions. We may not be fit, but we win the competition.
We are not going to leave you with that thought. We shall leave you with this thought from Miriam.
Well, I think the news is generally good. You can enjoy yourself as long as you do things in moderation. And I think you can have a healthier and probably longer life if you do the good things most of the time. But you can have the odd indiscretion.
Thank you very much indeed, and I hope that you've enjoyed taking part in our quiz and that perhaps we've given you some ideas for 1 or 2 New Year's resolutions that might benefit your health. Good night, and look after yourselves.